468 Huna Mari Mar Zutra, rabbi, executed in Pumpedita. 821 Theodulf, Bishop of all Ans. In 1133 Hildebert, French writer and bishop. In 1290 King Magnus I of Sweden b. 1240. In 1442 Pierre Cauchon, French Catholic bishop b. 1371. In 1495 Alfonso II, King of Naples 1494-95, dies at 47. In 1505 John of Horns, Prince Bishop of Liege, executed. In 1565 Benedetto Varchi, Italian humanist and historian El Arcolano, dies at 62. In 1577 Anna, Duchess of Saxony, second wife of Prince William of Orange 1561-71, who was divorced and imprisoned for adultery, dies at 32. In 1597 Barbara Blomberg, German mistress of Emperor Charles V, mother of John of Austria, dies at 67. In 1633 Theodoor Galle, Flemish engraver, buried at 62. In 1638 Pere Joseph, French mystic, dies. In 1651 Francisco the Melo, Portuguese-Spanish Earl of Nottingham, dies at 54. In 1682 Heneage Finch, first Earl of Nottingham, Lord Chancellor of England, dies at 60. In 1692 Veit Ludwig von Seckendorff, German statesman b. 1626. In 1710 Petrus Codde, Dutch Roman Catholic clergyman, Apostolic Vicar of the Dutch Mission, 1688-1704, Archbishop of Utrecht, 1688-1710, dies at 62. In 1732 Johann Valentin Eckelt, German composer and organist, dies at 59. In 1737 Antonio Stradivari, renowned Italian violin-maker, dies in Cremona, Italy, at 93. In 1751 Kilian Ignaz von Dientzenhofer, Bohemian Baroque architect, Nepomuk, Prague, dies at 62. In 1779 Jan Punt, Dutch engraver, painter, illustrator and actor Gideon School, dies at 68. In 1787 Soame Jenyns, British writer, View of the Internal Evidence of the Christian Religion and Member of Parliament 1741-80, dies at 83. In 1799 Jean-Étienne Montucla, French mathematician, dies at 74. In 1803 Johann G von Herder, German philosopher, theologist and poet, dies at 59. French naturalist Lamarckian evolution, dies at 85. In 1831 Willem Bilderdijk, Dutch poet, historian, lawyer, and linguist Lutres, My Relief, dies at 75. In 1832 Philip Freneau, American poet of the American Revolution, The American Village, dies at 80. In 1835 Johann Georg Anton Medrich Gallas, Austrian composer, dies at 82. In 1839 Charles Henry Plantade, French composer, dies at 75. In 1841 Felice Bangini, Italian composer, dies at 60. In 1843 Thomas Graham, Lord Lynedoc, British Viceroy of India b. 1748. In 1848 Bernard Bolzano, Bohemian mathematician and philosopher b. 1781. In 1855 Samuel Rogers, English poet, Italy, a poem, dies at 92. In 1858 Joseph Henry Ignace Mies, Flemish composer, dies at 81. In 1862 Johnson Kelly Duncan, American architect and Confederate Brigadier General, dies at 35 of malarial fever. In 1865 Francisco Manuel da Silva, Brazilian composer, Brazilian national anthem, dies at 70. In 1869 Louis Moura Gottschalk, American pianist and composer, dies at 40. In 1879 Charlie Parkhurst, American stagecoach driver who disguised herself as a woman for 30 years, dies at 67. In 1881 George Edmund Street, English architect, dies at 57. In 1889 Wilhelm von Giesebrecht, German historian, wrote First General History of Medieval Germany, dies at 75. In 1891, Eduard Hill, German composer and conductor, dies at 69. In 1892, Richard Owen, English zoologist in Assyria, dies at 88. In 1894, Erastus Flavel Beadle, American publisher Beadle Estine Novels, dies at 73. In 1899, John William Glover, Irish composer, dies at 84. In 1901, William F. Perry, American brigadier general in the Confederate Army Civil War, dies at 78. In 1911, Alberto Randiger, Italian composer, dies at 79. In 1915, Henry Enfield Roscoe, English chemist vanadium and photochemistry, dies at 82. In 1915, Louise Blanchard Bethune, first American female professional architect, Buffalo Meter Company Building, dies at 59. In 1918, Henryk Gierke, Polish composer, dies at 72. In 1919, Horatio Parker, American organist and composer, dies at 56. In 1919, John Alcock, English pilot, first non-stop flight across Atlantic Ocean, dies in crash at 27. In 1927, Harry Barrett, British athlete, WR Marathon 240, 231, 1909, dies at 47. In 1928, Lucien Capet, French composer and violinist, dies at 55. American racing HOF jockey, Preakness Stakes 1920, 25, Belmont Stakes 1920, 28, US champion jockey by earnings 1920, dies from pneumonia at 31. American gangster and bootlegger during the Prohibition era, shot dead and murdered at 34. In 1932, Eduard Bernstein, German Marxist and revisionist, dies at 82. In 1935, Juan Vicente Gomez, Venezuelan general and dictator of Venezuela 1908-35, dies at 78. In 1936, Andrzej Mohorovic, Austro-Hungarian-born Yugoslav seismologist b. 1857. In 1937, Robert W. Bingham, American newspaper proprietor, attorney, and ambassador to the UK 1933-37, dies of cancer at 66. In 1939, Bruno Liljeforce, Swedish painter, golden eagle chasing a hare, evening wild ducks, dies at 79. In 1939, Haywood Brown, American journalist, first president of American Newspaper Guild, dies of pneumonia at 51. In 1948, Janet Faye, American murder victim of the Lonely Hearts Killers, later filmed as the Honeymoon Killers, hammered to death at 66. In 1948, William Arms Fisher, American composer, librettist, going home, musicologist, and educator, dies at 87. In 1963, Winfried Zillig, German opera composer and conductor, Fantasia Erika, dies at 58. In 1966, Jean Gontiat Liggett, American silent film screenwriter and actress, dies at 81. In 1966, Tara Brown, Irish socialite who inspired the Beatles' song A Day in the Life, dies in a car crash at 21. In 1968, Joan Tapper, American actress, teenage millionaire, dies at 36 after accidentally overdosing on influenza medication. In 1968, Sir John Leighton Jarvis, English thoroughbred racehorse trainer, 9 ex-British classic races, 3 ex-British flat racing champion trainer, dies at 80. In 1971, Alexander Tvardovsky, Russian poet and editor-in-chief, Novij Mir, dies at 61. American